Are you a certified daycare provider?
No, ma'am.
Pushback after a mom removes her toddlers.
She sent you a bill. She said you failed to give her 2 weeks' notice.
But the judge doesn't play around.
Why are you charging her if the children weren't there?
I have a contract she signed that if your kids are not attending the daycare, you are still responsible.
I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, people who are not licensed daycare providers shouldn't be taking care of infants. Period.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Daycare owner Rebecca Weisinger is suing her former client, Dominique Alexander, for non-payment of service, failure to give 2 weeks' notice, and late fees.
Order. All rise. It's case number 570 on the calendar in the matter of Weisinger versus Alexander.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Weisinger, you run a daycare center. Do you run it out of your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you certified daycare provider?
Pending.
So the answer is
No,
no.
ma'am.
How many children do you watch?
Now, 2.
When you were taking care of Miss Alexander's children, how many children were you watching?
3, sometimes 4.
What training do you have to be a daycare provider?
I took my CPR, all the safe and healthy classes that I need to take.
Okay, CPR. What else?
I took the safe and healthy. I took the nutrition classes, and I took the test for the child care daycare license.
When did you take the test?
Around September.
Well, the results came out already. Did you pass the test?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are they waiting for?
The background screening.
Are you permitted to take care of children without being a licensed daycare provider?
Yes, ma'am.
When you were taking care of the defendant's children, you had 2?
Yes, ma'am.
How old?
He is now 10 months and 2.
And how old were they when you brought them to the plaintiff?
He was 4 months and 1.5, almost 2.
The father of these 2 children, was that a husband?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the father of these 2 children was given visitation.
Correct.
And he was given visitation after the children were enrolled in the plaintiff's
Yes, ma'am.
daycare service. And since you work, you made arrangements with the father of your children to pick up the children at the daycare center.
Correct.
And the plaintiff didn't like that.
No.
Because it was problematic for her. Police had to be called at least on one occasion.
Yes.
So either she told you to leave or you left on your own. And she sent you a bill. She said you failed to give her 2 weeks' notice. I'm not concerned about that, the 2 weeks' notice. If you wanted her out, that was problematic for you, right? So you should be happy that her children were out. If the visitation was not possible through you, you should be happy. And then we're left with 2 days that you say she didn't pay for. Which 2 days?
The first week, it was the 21st and the 22nd.
What do you mean the first week?
Well, the first week when she came on the 25th, she said that the kids will not be coming because I didn't want the father, the pickup, to be at my home anymore.
She brought the children 6 months ago. What 2 days? Give me the date that you are claiming she didn't pay you for.
March 21st, March 22nd, March 28th, March 29th, April 1st through April 4th.
Well, that's more than 2 days.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Were the children there on March 21st to March 22nd?
No, ma'am.
Because?
On the 21st and the 22nd, their father picked them up at, I believe it's 11 o'clock, and he brought them back at 5.
To whose house? To her?
Yes.
Did you pay her for those days?
She was going to receive payment through Crystal Stairs for the time that they were there.
The answer is you did not pay her.
No.
And how much is it a day for each of the children?
I can look in her fee schedule. Mm-hmm. So there's the contract that she signed with Crystal Stairs is the rates, and then she has her own.
I just want you to tell me how much you were supposed to pay her for March 21st and March 22nd, and you didn't. How much was she supposed to pay on March 21st and March 20th? She, not the service.
For both children, it was $75.
Her portion for those 2 days?
Correct. Crystal Stairs does not cover if the children are not at the daycare.
So you mean Crystal Services, which is?
The county.
The county doesn't pay if the children weren't there.
Correct.
So why are you charging her if the children weren't there?
Because she wrote, I have a contract that she signed that if your kids are not attending the daycare, you are still responsible.
I don't care. The children weren't there. Were the children there on the 28th and the 29th?
They were there from 6:30 to 11.
On the 28th and the 29th?
Yes, ma'am.
And on the 21st and 22nd?
No, ma'am.
But just on the 28th and the 29th? Well, who's going to pay her from 6:30 to 11?
Crystal Stairs will pay her for that time.
You're going to pay her.
Is she going to reimburse?
You're going to pay her.
Yeah.
So far, I'm not hearing that you're paying anything.
I did pay her.
Well, but you didn't pay her for the 28th and the 29th of March.
Because they weren't there those days. They were there
Well,
the
they
21st
were there,
and the...
not during the day, but she says they were there from 6:30 to 11.
I believe that she has the dates backwards because they were there on the 21st and the 22nd, but they were not there the 28th and the 29th.
Fine. They were there the 21st and the 22nd from 6:30 to 11.
When I spoke with Crystal Stairs, they said that they paid her out for the hours that they were there during that time.
Did you get paid from 6:30 to 11?
I did. They didn't pay me from 11 to 5.
Okay, good. They're not paying you from 11 to 5. You didn't do anything. Okay, what are the rest of the days?
Week of April the 1st through the 4th, that was supposed to have been her last week, and she didn't bring the kids at all.
Then you didn't work.
No, I didn't, but I have a contract that states if you're...
Listen, Ms. Weisinger, I actually feel mostly sympathetic. It sounds to me like you're trying to do all the right things. But you are not a licensed daycare provider. As far as I'm concerned, people who are not licensed daycare providers shouldn't be taking care of infants. Period. That would be in my best America. As long as you got paid for what you did, I am satisfied. You are having difficulty with her because of this ongoing problem that she has with a court order of visitation. And you're quite right. If you're taking care of other children, you don't want a potentially toxic situation when you're taking care of other children. I want to make certain that you get paid for work that you did in watching her children. So from what I'm hearing, you got paid for the time that you were actually taking care of her children. Is that correct?
Correct.
Goodbye. We're done. Thank you.
Parties are excused, Miss Step out.
It doesn't matter whether I have a license or not. I had a contract.
She was paid previously by me until Crystal Stairs picked up the balance.
She signed it. She agreed to it.
I do feel like she should have been paid.
And it's a contract. So.
Definitely choosing a licensed facility from now on.
Not do any more favors.
Don't do business with neighbors.
And
Home. She's a hero.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Peoples versus Nahas. Step forward.
Frida Peoples is suing her former friend and business partner, Jenny Nahas, for money owed for food sales and supplies and for loss of revenue.
Miss Peoples, who is this?
This is Rochelle. She's a third partner in the Three Sisters catering.
This is briefly what I gather from this case. You and the defendant and your witness decided to go into a cooking catering business to at least give it a shot. You each have a distinctive style of cooking. Yours is
Caribbean.
And yours is?
African.
And yours is?
Soul food.
And you called the company Three Sisters.
Yes.
You decided to try out the company at a fair that was being held, where there were food booths, where you sold food, and in exchange for the food, people had purchased tickets. So you got so many tickets. At the end of the fair day, tickets were turned in to the people who run the operation, and those tickets were translated into cash.
Correct.
Well, for whatever reason, things weren't working out for the three of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How many tickets did you give Miss Nahas?
240.
You both gave her 240?
Yeah, because we were out there all day.
How much did you get?
$367, Your Honor.
Do you have any proof of that?
Absolutely.
I'd like to take a look at
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Judge Judy.
Frida Peoples says former friend and business partner Jenny Nahas owes for food sales and supplies from a food fair and for loss of revenue. Jenny is countersuing for the cost of aprons and for stealing the company name.
Now, there was some investment made. The defendant says she bought custom aprons that said Three Sisters on it. You bought, according to you, food. I'm not interested in that. That's not what courts are here to deal with. 3 aprons and some food that you bought for a fair. We're not talking about a whole lot of money. But what your claim is that the defendant, since she was the one who signed up for the space at the fair and gave a deposit, correct?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
She had to turn in the tickets, which she did, and she didn't share with you any of the money that she got. That's basically what your case is about. Okay, now, on the 23rd, did you, all three of you, work at the fair?
Yes. We did, but not for the whole fair.
But you were all there.
Yeah.
We all showed up eventually. Yes, ma'am.
I know, you say that she showed up late. How much money in tickets did you give Miss Nahas?
For myself, I counted $240.
Could you stand up? Miss Harvey, how many tickets did you give Miss Nahas?
240.
You both gave her 240?
Yeah, because we were out there all day. So, and we sold everything.
And how much did you collect yourself that day?
About $150.
So that's about $630. How much did you get?
$367, Your Honor.
Do you have any proof of that?
Absolutely.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Yes, ma'am. This is a copy of the check that they sent me that was cashed and cleared.
Would you show this to the plaintiffs, please? And Ms. Harvey, how much money did Ms. Nahas give to you?
$120.
And Ms. Peoples, how much did Ms. Nahas give to you?
Zero.
Correct.
Why?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by Real Cases, Real People. Judge Judy.
Nothing like at the time, so I was funding it and was supposed to get reimbursed.
Why did you give Ms. Harvey $120 and not Ms. Peoples?
At the time, me and Ms. Harvey was continuing with the business and had decided at that time that me and her were staying together. We did not appreciate the way Frida was handling business, so we commenced, and myself and Ms. Harvey carried on.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $120. We're finished. Thank you.
Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's just bitter that she no longer has a boy toy. If I had to put a picture in the dictionary next to what a boy toy looked like.
Judge Judy.
You know, I had more experience in the business, and
Be very careful. Be very careful. It ruins friendships.
I'm very forceful about it because I know what I'm doing. And she had no experience in this at all.
That's the overall part that, that I'm upset with.
This is not the first time she was dishonest with me about money, and I should have known better.
This is minor. The friendship meant more to me.
I definitely don't do business with friends.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Covert versus Mittman step forward.
Richard Covert is suing Ann Mittman for money owed for a restaurant she purchased from him.
Mr. Covert, I don't think that there's an issue about a couple of things. You had a restaurant business. Mm-hmm. You sold that restaurant business to the defendant. You sold her that business in 2016.
December.
And you had an agreement with her for a payout. How much was the agreed upon purchase price for the restaurant?
A total of $81,600.
When had you purchased the restaurant?
I purchased it in December of 2010.
And how long did you run it?
For 6 years, exactly.
How much had you paid for it?
$235,000.
Who did you purchase it from?
I purchased it from Sandy and Rita. They started the business in 1988.
Did you pay them the $235,000?
Yes, I did.
Outright?
I paid about $200,000 of it up front, and then I had a year to pay off the balance.
$35,000.
Yes.
Okay, and you kept it and made a living at it, I assume, for 6 years. Decided to sell it and sold it at quite a loss.
I did.
So business must have been dying down.
Well, I overpaid.
Business must have been dying down.
It wasn't dying down, actually. I overpaid for the business.
Well, doesn't make you a great businessman if you overpay for the business.
That's not true.
Shh. I didn't ask you anything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You went out of business because you were bad at the restaurant business. Stop making excuses as to why you violated the contract.
May I speak?
You could speak, but I read your answer, and your answer is stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Richard Covert is suing Ann Mittman for money owed for a restaurant she purchased from him.
Now, you had a contract with him to pay $81,600.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and making payments. You were supposed to make payments to him.
That's correct.
In what amount and how often?
$925 a month.
Until it was paid off. How much did you pay in total?
Paid $15,000 down out of escrow. May I explain that?
No, I just want you... This is a very simple case. I don't have to make it complicated. You paid $15,000 down, and how much did you pay towards the $81,600 purchase price?
I don't have that total. I started paying him in January of 2017.
Do you have the total, Mr. Covert?
She paid me $925 a month for... No, I don't. I don't have.
Well, somebody get me a total.
I can get it. $20,350.
How much did she pay you?
Total with the $15,000 down, approximately $32,000.
And what number do you have?
Well, I had less, but...
You'll take the 32?
Yes.
Great. Then why are you here, Mr. Mittman? Because the maximum that I can award you is $5,000, and based upon what you tell me, you're owed $50,000.
I am.
Well, why would you come here?
Because she doesn't have any more money, and I'd rather get something than nothing. I spoke to an attorney. The attorney said I could probably receive a judgment, but electing on that judgment would be, virtually impossible. She doesn't necessarily have to pay it, and I could put a lien on her home, wait until she sells her home. I just want this behind me. This has been a nightmare.
Okay.
May I
It's reasonable.
speak?
You could speak, but I read your answer, and your answer is stupid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Your answer says that back in 2016, when you bought the restaurant, and the restaurant didn't go out of business until what year?
But I can tell you why.
What year did the restaurant go out of
January
business?
2019.
Your answer says that because he owed back taxes, you couldn't get a liquor license for 2 months in 2016. That's not a reason.
There are other reasons.
Just a second. That's not a reason. The reason is, and not make excuses, the reason is your restaurant didn't make it. Like 90% of restaurants that open and close, maybe you didn't have a great chef, maybe you weren't a good restaurateur, but you had the business for 3 years.
I had it for almost 2 years.
It went out of business. It didn't go out of business because of him. It went out of business because of the business or because of you. And you have to pay him. You had a contract to pay him.
May I explain something?
30 seconds.
Okay.
Don't waste my time.
I spent $17,000 in equipment that was
I don't care. I don't care. Then you sue him. You went out of business because you were bad at the restaurant business, or the public didn't embrace your business. Stop making excuses as to why you violated the contract.
He breached the contract.
No, he didn't. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're done.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He didn't pay his bills off in 180 days like he was supposed to.
No, that's an absolute lie.
I also got levied from the state for employees that he hadn't paid.
There was absolutely no reason to shut that business down.
If we'd gone through escrow like he knew we should,
She shut it down for a period of 2 or 3 months.
none of this would have happened. I would have never bought the restaurant.
And that was the beginning of the end of that restaurant.
Oh, it's closed.
Gave them a no-interest loan, trying to help them. It was their dream to own a restaurant, and these are the thanks you get.
Have a seat, please.
Miss Blendon, this is your former husband. I've read your complaint, and your complaint alleges that your former husband is responsible for your losing your job. You want him to be responsible in the amount of $5,000. When were you and Mr. Blendon married?
From 1989 to 1997.
And how many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
They're 21, 22, and 24.
When you were divorced in 1997, with whom did the children reside?
With me.
So far, is that correct?
In 97, yes.
97. According to you, the early years of your life in the 90s were troubled and plagued by drug abuse, both on your part and your husband's part. It appears that that is no longer a problem.
Correct.
Terrific. And you secured a job in a drug treatment facility. When did you secure that job?
In April of 2012.
And what's your job there?
At first I was a behavioral health technician, and then I was a transcriptionist, and then I was promoted to health information management.
What kind of training did you have for any of the jobs at the treatment facility?
79 credit hours within the facility. Being a previous addict, they hired me based on that, basically.
Now, your former husband was also treated at some point in that facility.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? From when to when?
Early March 2011 until July or August of 2011.
And was that as an inpatient or an outpatient?
A real intense outpatient program.
How many days a week did you go?
3 days a week for the first 14 weeks, and then 1 day a week for, I believe it was 24 weeks after that.
Okay. This is what the case is about. According to you, you illegally accessed husband's records, treatment record. You did so, I don't know why, you'll tell me, but you knew that that was not only against the law, but against the rules.
Yes.
And at the time that you did it without his permission.
Yes.
And that was, according to you, in February of 2013.
Correct.
And he had not been a patient there for a while because you were finished before that.
Correct.
You ultimately, according to you, told your husband that you had done that.
No.
You never did?
No, I did not.
How did you find out that she had accessed your records, sir?
She told me.
Well, that's what I thought I read here. Well, Miss Blendon, I knew that I read it because in your complaint that you swore to, you say, I mentioned this to him and he didn't seem to have a problem with it.
This was after he had got me terminated. I mentioned to him that I'd access his file.
Well, that's not the scenario that's written here. You said, I mentioned this to him, and he didn't seem to have a problem with it. He even gave my daughter, who also worked with me, permission to look at his file because there was nothing in there that we didn't know already. I'm going to read what you say. Over the next year, I did very well and received 3 promotions. August of 2013, I was scheduled for a performance review. Instead, I was informed that someone had filed an outside complaint and I was fired. So the way this is written, it appears that you think, you wrote at least,
yes,
in the complaint that you had mentioned it to him, that he didn't do anything or say anything about it at the time. He even told your daughter, who also worked there, you could look at my file too. And then sometime after that, that's what it appears in your complaint, that he made a complaint about you maliciously and you were fired. That's what it appears. So now you're telling me that you never told him.
I may be mistaken. I may have told him.
Did she tell you?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
Early spring, late February, March, somewhere in there.
Do you remember where the conversation took place?
I believe it took place at my business.
Do you remember the circumstances surrounding her telling you that she had looked at your file?
She just brought it up.
When did you, in fact, Miss Blendon, make the complaint to the facility?
End of July or early August. I had started seeing another young lady that was in treatment at that facility. And
okay, so let me stop. So you found out about it in February, and in February you decided to let it slide.
I didn't want the drama for my children, yes, ma'am.
So you did nothing.
Right.
And then you started to date somebody who was a patient in the facility.
Correct.
And
she walked into her class one day, and Teresa stopped the young lady, told her that she had accessed her file, and she did. And anyway,
just a second.
My deepest, darkest secret.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
Did you access the file of Mr. Blendon's girlfriend?
I don't even know who that is.
No, I don't believe that.
He's had several girlfriends.
I'm talking about the one who was in the facility in June.
June?
Okay. So, did you ever confront your former wife about accessing your girlfriend's file?
She told me she did it.
When did she tell you?
Shortly after it happened.
Tell me what she told you.
Just I looked at your friend's files, and she's doing really good. Nothing malicious or nothing like that.
Okay, so she said she looked at her files and she's doing real good.
Right.
I knew I didn't believe you. And then you made the report.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think you could sue him?
Why did he wait so long to say anything about me or make me lose my job maliciously over assuming I looked at her file? I seen her in the treatment facility. I knew her drug counselor.
I thought you just told me you didn't even know who it was.
Well, if he's
you just said to me, I didn't even know who it was.
Same one, he's had several girlfriends.
No. You said, I know her drug counselor. You said, I've seen her inside the facility. I knew her drug counselor. 2 seconds ago, you told me you didn't even know who she was.
If
Listen,
I knew which girlfriend it was.
Miss Blendon, let me sort of explain to you what the law is. Put it to you in layman's terms. When you do the wrong thing, that's something that is against the rules or illegal, and somebody calls you out on it, we don't care what their motive is in the law. It could be because they hate you. It could be because you park in their parking spot. It could be because they gave you a bad hair color. It could be because they don't like the color of your eyes. It could be because you dated their cousin that they hate in junior high school. It could be for any reason. It could be malicious. You don't have a right to sue them as long as you committed the act, which you acknowledge. You violated the trust of the company that you worked for by accessing records that you had no right to access because you didn't think it was a big deal and because you were a gossip and a snoop. And when that happens, I don't get the sense that he was malicious, because if he was malicious, then he would have reported you as soon as you told him that you had accessed his file. Because, see, how dare you do that? What he did was he tried to protect the integrity of the family, and I believe that by saying, listen, if I say something, she's going to lose her job right now. She's got a job, and she seems to be doing reasonably, so there wasn't anything in there that was terrible anyway, so I'm just going to let it go. Is this your daughter?
Yes.
She also got fired?
Yes.
She got fired because she was also a snoop?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
He told me to look up his file, though.
That's what happens. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing if you work in a position where you are entrusted with certain confidential information. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing. So your lawsuit's dismissed. However, Mr. Blendon has a counterclaim. And his counterclaim is that you violated his right to privacy by looking into his record, and you did so without his authority. And he also wants a substantial judgment.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Douglas Blendon caused a job. Douglas is countersuing for invasion of privacy.
You see, Mr. Blendon, the problem is you weren't hurt, according to you, by your former wife's looking at your records. Because according to you, there was nothing in there that really you had a concern over. You waited until she acted on your girlfriend's records to find that you were so seriously offended as to want to file a lawsuit. That being said, she still was wrong to do what she did. I don't think that what you are requesting in your lawsuit is what I'm going to give you, but I'm going to make a statement that she had no right to do what she did. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $1,500. Thank you.
Please excuse, you may step out.
At the time, accessing his record, yes, because I was concerned.
I've been dealing with her prying into my life for years and years.
To make sure that he was staying sober for my children's well-being.
She's just worried about herself.
I lost my job.
And tries to blame somebody for everything else bad that happens in her life.
He's the only one that I access that I told about.
I hope she gets help.
I hope that he can quit hating me and we can just go on with our lives.
Good luck with that one.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mauna versus Dennis, step forward.
Lorena Mauna is suing her former neighbor, Latoya Dennis, for the return of a bracelet and for slashing her tires.
Miss Mauna, you and Miss Dennis were friends. It is your claim first that you let her borrow a bracelet of yours that she refuses to return. After you let her borrow your bracelet, according to you, there was some bad gossip that you had heard about, and you and the defendant had a falling out. According to you, the defendant then started to threaten you. How did she threaten you?
Leaving threatening letters.
Do you have any of those letters?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to look at them.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Lorena Mauna says former neighbor Latoya Dennis won't return her bracelet and slashed her tires. Latoya is countersuing for a false restraining order.
Okay. Would you show these two letters to Miss Dennis? I'd like you to tell me, Miss Dennis, when you sent those letters.
I sent the letters on June 13th, the day that she and her husband came to my home to ask about the bracelet after 2 months of not talking to each other.
Those are pretty serious, certainly unladylike to say the least. How did you deliver the letters to her?
I put them at her door, and the actual letter that she submitted to the first court is in its
entirety. I'm talking about those two letters. Let's deal with those. You put them on her door?
Yes.
Was it before or after those letters that you were evicted from your apartment?
It was after the letters. I wasn't evicted, actually.
Well, tell me the circumstances surrounding your leaving the apartment.
They asked me to leave.
They asked you to leave and you left. Shh. They asked you to leave and you left.
Yeah, I wasn't served an eviction notice. I just was asked to leave.
They asked you to leave. Mm-hmm. Were these threats part of the reason that you know of that you were asked to leave?
Yes.
Yes. Now, I want you to tell me what happened when Miss Mauna came to your door asking for the return of the bracelet.
She came to the door and asked me, do I have the bracelet? I told her I had not seen it since the concert.
And when was the concert?
April 26th.
Is that when you took possession of the bracelet?
Yes.
Did you go to the concert together?
Yes.
Tell me about the bracelet.
Well, it was her birthday, so we were going to a concert, and as we were leaving, she said, I have a bracelet that will look good with your outfit, and gave it to me to wear.
And
we went to the concert.
And you hadn't seen the bracelet since?
Yes.
So she came to the door 6 weeks later, where's my bracelet?
Yes.
And you said, I haven't seen it?
Yes.
Now, what kind of a fight did you have in between April 26th and June 13th when she came to the door?
Absolutely no contact.
Do you know why?
No, I don't.
You want to tell me why?
She was spreading rumors about me to the neighbors.
That's what you heard?
Yes, what I heard.
Without going into detail?
Yes.
Okay, so then she came and you said, I haven't seen the bracelet. And then what happened?
And then her and her husband became very threatening. She approached my door saying that he was there to protect her. When I told her that I did not see the bracelet, she and him began to threaten and defame and slander me in front of children and neighbors and my children as well. And it lasted for about 15 to 20 minutes of them at my door. And after they left, I wrote the long letter. That's in its entirety so that you can read the whole letter as I wrote it to her, not in pages of scraps that she gave you.
These two letters, were they written the same day?
No, those were all written in one letter, and those were left after. I only left 2 notes in the letter.
I want to see what you're talking about. Do you have a copy of it?
Yes, I do.
Do you have a picture of this bracelet, Miss Mona?
I have something that looks like, I couldn't get the actual bracelet. We tried. I have something that's similar to it. And I forgot to give this to evidence for the rest of the family members.
Does this look like the bracelet she gave you?
No. It's the shape of it, but it's not. Doesn't look like the bracelet.
It's the shape of it?
Yeah.
Look, if she was your friend and let you borrow the bracelet, and she came and she said, where's the bracelet? I want it back. And you said, well, I haven't seen it since the concert. I'm sorry I lost it. I'll replace it for you. Is that what you said to her?
I was at the door.
Just a second. I said, did you say to her, I'm sorry, I must have lost it. I'll replace it for you?
At the time, I said I will look for it and see if I have it and then try to find it and give it to you.
Is that what she said to you?
Yeah, she said that she would, if she found it, she would bring it to me.
And if you didn't find it?
We didn't get to that part. She became irate. She began to yell and scream at the door. We didn't even get to that.
All right. Well, the price that she lists here for the bracelet is $69 for a bracelet that's similar. The next part of her lawsuit has to do with slashed tires. Tell me about when your tires were slashed.
Well, the night before, on Sunday morning.
Sunday, what date?
Sorry, June 30th. I woke up to go to church that morning. There was 2 letters, super glued. One was to the door, on the wall, and then another one was on the floor. And then Monday morning came around. I was hiding my car because I already had a feeling she was going to do something to my car. And then on Monday morning, around 6 a.m., I seen her walking around my car, circling the car, and then bending over and slashing it.
What you just told me was a lie, because you never saw her slash your tires.
I seen her by the car. I never seen her actually like slash, but I did see her by the car. I never seen a knife like I told
the first thing that you told the police officer is that you came down to your car in the morning, 7 o'clock, and you saw the tires slashed.
I told the officer I seen her, Officer Huffman.
Just a second. Okay. That's what you said. And you said you saw that at 7 o'clock in the morning. And you said earlier that morning at 6 o'clock, so an hour before is what you're telling me, an hour before you saw somebody that you had been having a big to-do with around your car, and it took you an hour to go downstairs to look and see what was happening?
No, I was trying to call the police, but they kept saying that they're very busy, they cannot come out. I kept trying to call. They said it's going to take a couple hours to come out, and then I had to go to work that day. I had just started my new job, and I was hiding in the car. I knew she was going to do something to my car.
It's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie.
You're not telling the same story here today as you told to the police, and it doesn't make sense to me that if you see somebody around your car and they leave, it takes you an hour to go downstairs and take a look at your car. That doesn't, Miss Dennis, mean that I don't know whether you slashed the tires on her car. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
I'm not sure whether you did or whether you didn't. This is a question of proof. Now, both the police officer as well as I am unable to positively determine whether Miss Dennis did in fact cause damage to your car. But she does have to pay for your bracelet because that she borrowed and lost, and according to you, its value is $69. You have a cross-complaint, Miss Dennis. Your cross-complaint is that she filed an application for a restraining order against you, making false allegations.
Yes.
What are the false allegations?
Well, based on...
She did, in fact, file a restraining order against you. Based upon what I have read, she had every basis to file an application for a restraining order against you.
No.
Well, you tell me why you think she had none. I've seen the letters that you sent to her.
And that's because in the police report, she filed that I was threatened to cut and was coming to her house yelling things. I left a letter on June 13th and left another letter on June 29th. But in that meantime, I have not seen her. I have not assaulted her. There have been no altercation or incidents.
It don't have to be.
But it's because of what she and her husband did. He was a weapon that she brought to my home, and they were attacking me that day. It's unfortunate that it wasn't recorded.
No, just a second. You said they were attacking you. Would you tell me how?
Verbally attacking me, absolutely trying to fight me, you know, getting all raspy over the bracelet. And she was, you know, they were there for like 15, 20 minutes, verbally attacking me, defaming me, and slandering me. That's where the letter came from, but that's what she's not telling you. So after that, Your Honor, I have not been after this woman. I have not cared enough to slash tires. I would do that to my ex-boyfriend, not to some girl. She's not that important to me.
Your response was to send these letters to her. They are threatening, provocative letters. If she perceives these letters, as I would if I got them, as threatening in nature, she is entitled to file for a protective order to keep you away from her.
And it was denied based on I haven't even been around her. All I did was send a note.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Please excuse, you may step out.
I think the decision was very fair. I'm happy she got her bracelet.
I'm glad that she figured it out, that she did, you know, borrow my bracelet and didn't give it back to me.
I wrote her a letter in response to what she and her husband came to my home and did.
She was talking about me to neighbors and a manager.
It was total disrespect, and it was a threat to bring him to my home to argue with me over something girly as to a bracelet. We could have solved that.
I'm actually a little afraid of her if you see her size.
I could have said, hey, I lost it. I replaced it. But what she did at my home caused the letter.
She was talking about my children and my son, who's actually a special ed child. She was really, you know, just talking really bad about him.
No, absolutely not. I would never say anything bad about someone's child. I'm a mother myself. But yes, I said things about her.
You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Thompson, how long have you known the defendant?
Since I was 14 years old.
And how old are you now?
I'm 18.
How long were you living with her?
About 2 months before the incident occurred.
How did you come to live with her?
I was having some family issues, and Betsy reached out to me via Facebook, offering her home to me just to kind of get away from the drama and what was going on with my family. So I actually moved in as soon as she messaged me, and she's always been like a second mother to me anyway. So.
In what month did you move in with her?
January 2013.
And what was your arrangement with her with regard to rent?
There was no rental agreement. She just offered her home to me, and it was just basically just kind of clean up after yourself, provide for yourself, go to school, and you can stay till you're fixed.
So she was being very nice to you?
Yes, she was.
And when you moved into her home, who else was living there?
Brianna at the time was living there, Betsy and myself.
So the three of you were living there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about the parrot? Was the parrot there?
The parrot was not there.
When you moved in?
No, ma'am, it was not there.
Okay. Case is about a parrot that belongs to the defendant who attacked and bit you. You want to be compensated for your medical bills and pain and suffering. When did you move out of the defendant's house?
The very minute I got home from the hospital, I began packing. All my stuff was out by 1 p.m.
On what date?
4/16/2013.
And where did you move to?
I moved into my grandparents' house.
Now, on what date, Ms. Mako, did you get the parrot?
It had to have been in 2006.
Well, where was the parrot when Ms. Thompson moved in?
It was at the house.
She says it wasn't there.
It was not at the house. Betsy, a year prior, had to go to the hospital for about a week or so. Don't know what the reason was for, but she gave the parrot to somebody to bird sit for her. And when she came back after the week from the hospital, when she came to get the bird attacked her and did not like her, and it loved the babysitter that it stayed with. So they made an agreement that the bird was going to stay with her. 2 months of me living there, this bird started to attack the bird sitter and her other pet bird. So she contacted Betsy and said, you know, you need to come get the bird that's attacking my family.
That sounds like a bizarre story to make up, and it's very easy to verify. You know the name of the person?
No, I do not, but I can show you Facebook messages.
I'd like to see those. So the bird was not living in the house when she moved in?
I suppose not, no.
How long did the bird remain with this other person?
For about a year.
I'm glad your memory got jogged before I had to go any further. And in what month did you go and get the bird?
I don't know.
It was April 2013.
And did you go and get the bird from this person because they called you and said that the bird had become vicious?
Yes, but not towards other people, just the other birds.
Now, did you like this bird?
Yes.
The bird?
Yes.
Then you explain to me why the bird stayed with this other person for a year.
Well,
take a breath. And you've already lied to me one time, which makes you look ridiculous. So before you look ridiculous again, stop shaking your feet. Before you look ridiculous again, tell me why, if you cared for this animal, you let it stay with someone else for a year.
Because I'm the prime caretaker of the bird. And when I started school at Paul Mitchell and working, I had no time to take care of the bird.
I don't believe that.
Well, I'm not lying to you.
I don't believe that. Not at all. Can I see your medical bills, please? And then I'd like you to tell me what happened with the bird. which the defendant doesn't deny. She just says that you were annoying it. Want to tell me what happened on or about the 15th or 16th of April?
Yes, around 11 p.m. at night. Sansi had came over, who is my witness. I was in my bedroom. I did not know she was over, but she called me. She said, hey, come out, because I was in my bedroom. And when I walked into the living room, I did not see the bird in there at all. And note the fact that the bird's wings are not clipped, which means that it can free flight. So when you clip a bird's wings, that means they can only walk. So this bird, if you let it go, it can fly all around. So I walked into the living room, sat down, got about 2 words in with my witness over here, and then from nowhere, the bird came and latched onto my face. At that point, everybody was starting to freak out because it was on there for a good 10 seconds or so because its beak was dug into my skin.
What kind of bird is it?
It's an Amazon parrot, I believe.
A blue-headed Amazon parrot.
How large is it?
It's fairly large, about this big.
How old is the bird?
About 7. I have pictures of it if you'd like to see it.
I would. How did the bird finally become detached from your face?
I pulled it off my face. It was latched onto my face, and I literally had to pull it off. At that minute, I just kind of threw it down to the ground. I was freaking out, and so was everybody else, Betsy and Sansi, who was there. So I began to put my hands over my face to protect it if it flew back at me. At that point, it started to bite on my hands and latched onto my hands. So I started flailing and trying to get the bird off of me because, it's digging into my skin. And at that point, I realized the bird's going to keep flying back at me as many times as I throw it away. So I took off in a run with my hands on, and it was still following me. I finally got the bird off, and I turned to Betsy and I said, I'm going to the hospital now, because I looked down at my hands and I saw blood, and then I also could feel blood dripping from my face.
Did they take any photographs in the hospital?
No, they were not allowed to, but I did have.
Not allowed. Don't tell me they weren't allowed to. Did anybody take any photographs of your injuries? I'd like to see them. Tell me your name.
Sansi Anderson.
You just heard the plaintiff testify. If I were to ask you the same questions that I asked her, would you describe a similar situation that she did on that night, or would your recollection be any different?
It'd be just about the same. I was sitting next to her whenever it happened. I was like, oh, because it scared me. Because I didn't see the bird come. It just kind of came out of nowhere, and I didn't know what was going on.
Where was the defendant when this happened?
That was her. She was sitting on the other side of me on the other side of the couch.
So it was just the 3 of you in the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You want to describe to me now your version of what happened on that date?
Yes. Before? No, the day before.
That date. Concentrate on what I'm asking you.
All right. Well, the day before has something to do with it.
Concentrate on my question.
Okay.
On the evening of the 15th, approximately 11 to 11:30 in the evening, were you and Miss Ann in the living room?
No, I was not there.
Did there come a time when you came into the living room?
No, I was not at home at the time that the attack happened. But she was provoking the bird before. I saw her messing with the bird before she...
So is what you want me to believe now, the same way you wanted me to believe that the bird was in the home when she moved in 5 minutes ago?
I had just been confused about the time.
What you want me to believe now is that these 2 people, when they say that you were at home when this happened, are not telling the truth.
I was not home.
Where were you?
I was out.
Out where?
Working.
Working where?
E-Ventures Party Rental Company, where I work.
And that's your full-time job?
Part-time. I go to school full-time.
Part-time job. And the name of your supervisor?
Mike.
Mike what?
I can't tell you.
Telephone number?
I don't have one.
Go get it.
My cell phone isn't with me.
Now, you were out at work at approximately 11:30 in the evening. I want to know when you came home that evening, because when you came home, there was some indication that there had been a problem, either that evening or the next morning. So what time did you get home?
Probably about an hour later. I don't work very late at night.
It's going to get worse for you. An hour later, you mean 12:30?
Yes.
Was anybody else at home at 12:30?
Yes.
Who?
My mother.
Anybody else at home at 12:30?
Yes.
Who?
Sansi. Anderson. Yes.
Miss Anderson, you were at home at 12:30?
I don't completely remember, but I probably did stay the night.
Well, when did she go to the emergency room?
I wasn't
that
with her.
Night.
I had stayed there.
You were staying there?
Yeah, the night.
Who took you to the emergency room?
Myself. And actually, on a note, Brianna was not there. It was Betsy, her mother, who was there. That was the three of us. Me, Sansi, and Betsy.
And the mother was there?
Yes. Not Brianna. She was not there.
So you were there?
Yes.
Stand up, please. Very directly, 11:30 on April 15th, 2013. I want you to describe to me what happened when the bird attacked the plaintiff.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Anna Thompson says, former friend Brianna Jusola Mako owes for medical bills and pain and suffering after Brianna's parrot viciously attacked her.
I want you to tell me what happened when the bird attacked the plaintiff.
Well, Anna was teasing.
I want you to, no, listen to me. I want you just to tell me at 11:30 at night what happened when you were sitting in the living room.
Well, Duchess flew in there, and she loves Anna. And I thought she's going to land on Anna's shoulder, which she always does.
And plays with her.
Mm-hmm. And anyway, she flew in, and she flew right towards Anna, and she bit Anna's face. And she just shooed her off. So we just thought that was the end of it, because Duchess is a good bird.
So when you say she bit her on the face, she shoot her away.
Right, she shoot her away.
And then what happened?
Well, then Duchess flew back at her and, just bit her hand a little bit.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700.
No,
I'd get rid of that bird if I were you. Goodbye.
No, we're going to keep. She's a sweet bird.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't want to be mean to the bird. It's not mine. It's not my house. So I was always very nice to it.
Because Anna provoked that bird.
Never was seen as provoking whatsoever.
Throwing things at her, playing with her.
The bird is dangerous in that it's just attacks out of nowhere.
It's not a dangerous. That is a house bird.
There was nothing I could do to control that.
I think it's ridiculous.
But yeah, it was very nice. So I was very surprised when that happened that night because it was just out of nowhere.
I'm just glad it's over.
We're no longer friends.
We no longer speak.
If they're not going to own up to what happened, then I'm not going to be friends with somebody like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter, Wolfarth versus Texera Janney. Step forward.
Jeanette Wolfarth is suing her former friends, Joanna Teixeira and Tiffany Janney, for the unpaid balance on a Kia Sportage.
Which one of you bought the car from Miss Wolfarth? That would be you.
That was me, Your Honor, yes.
And you bought the car.
That's
what
correct.
date did you buy the car?
It was sometime in March. I don't remember.
You bought
It was a
Sportage? How much did you pay for it?
$6,000
for the car?
$500.
Not more?
No.
And she gave you possession of the car?
That's correct.
But she kept the title?
That is correct.
And you let Miss Janney drive the car?
Not exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly?
Well, one day we're hanging out at her apartment.
Oh, yeah, don't give me a whole story. It's lunchtime.
Okay.
Did you let her drive the car?
I let her drive the car, but Jeanette sort of insisted on it. She insisted that I let her drive the car. She said that it was in her name and that she had the right to let her drive the car.
Oh, so what you're saying is Miss Wolfarth gave Miss Janney permission to drive the car.
That is correct.
I would like you to tell me how that came about.
So we were hanging out at her apartment,
Whose house?
at Jeanette's apartment in Riverside. And
I'm sorry, that's not true.
No, just a second. Just a second. Go
okay,
ahead.
so we were all hanging out at Jeanette's apartment in Riverside. And we were, drinking, having a good time. And the conversation came up, actually, that Tiffany was going to L.A. She was going to see a Laker game with her boyfriend. She was really excited about it. But she said that she didn't have a car to drive, and she was disappointed about that because she would have to take the bus, and it was going to be really late if they were getting back. And so Jeanette just offers, out of the blue, she's like, well, why don't you take the Sportage? And as a her car. This was sometime in March.
About the same time that you had purchased the car?
After that, obviously, but yes.
So she said, why don't you take the Sportage?
That's correct. And I was kind of uncomfortable about this, and I said, well, wait a second. I thought it was kind of my car. I mean, I know you have the title, but I thought it was mine to lend out to people. And she said, well, the title is still in my name, and, it's really only going to be a day. Like, let's just let her have the car, and it'll be fine. And then next month, I know you were worried about the payment. You can pay me a little later if you let her drive the car.
Were you there during this conversation?
No, I was not.
Who else was there during the conversation?
It was the three of us.
So she says she wasn't there?
She had been drinking, Your Honor. I don't know if she doesn't remember it very well, but I was sober enough to remember that these ladies were both there when we had the conversation.
Well, you took the car that day or the next day?
The story is
that day or the next day is my question.
Neither day, Your Honor.
When did you take the car?
I took the car around March. That accident happened March 28th.
How did you come into possession of the car on March 28th?
I was hanging out with Joanna, and she let me just go to the store real quick. There was drinking involved.
but I wasn't drinking at that point. And so I went to the store, and then when I was at a single lane red light, the car behind me thought that he could sneak through and make a right-hand turn, and he ended up hitting the car and kind of scraping the side of it, the back as well, where he made the turn.
Miss Walforth, the car is in your name.
Yes.
Why didn't you have insurance for it?
I had insurance on it off after I had sold it to Joanna because she said that she was going to get insurance in her name.
Well, how can she get insurance in her name if she doesn't own it?
I gave her the pink slip and I told her to put it in her name. I let her have it because we were
show me
such
that.
good friends.
Show me that you signed it over to her.
Oh, the pink slip? I don't have it. I give it to her.
No, you didn't. You mean owing $6,000 you gave it? Don't believe you for a second. I don't believe that you signed over the pink slip to her. Did you owe any money on the car?
No, I had paid it off.
Or just for my own information, would you look up a 2001 Kia Sportage and tell me how much a 2001 Kia Sportage is?
It was in really good condition. And I'd put a lot of work into it.
I got 28.25.
But when I looked online at car places selling the same car, they were selling it for $58,000.
The suggested retail is $52.75. That's the suggested retail. Now, suggested retail, of course, is going to be higher from the
Well, that's
dealership.
if she was going to pay me all out, though. She was giving me in payments.
Miss Walforth, do you think that we're stupid here? Do you think that they keep us around here because we're stupid? We're very smart people. I don't believe your story, period. I don't believe you sold her the car. Somebody may have wrecked the car, because I don't believe this woman who made up this whole elaborate story, Miss Teixeira. What do you do for a living, by the way?
I'm a teller at a bank.
Bank teller. Agreed to pay $6,500 for a $3,000 car. That would make her very stupid, and that would make you one lousy friend. So you want to know something? I don't believe your whole story. Goodbye, girls.
Excuse, yo.
The defendant took advantage of me because she agreed to pay me the amount, and then she never paid me.
The contract was that I would have a car to drive, and I was no longer given that privilege.
She told me that it was okay. She had just gotten money in from her tax return.
She gave my car to somebody else who wrecked it.
She's been avoiding me for almost a year now.
And that was not part of our original agreement when I signed the contract.
Joanna should have to pay me for the car.
I do feel that she took advantage of a friend, yes.
We're not friends anymore. Not even a little bit.
Judge parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Reese, you were a patron in the defendant's bar over a year ago in March of 2012. The defendant, who owns the bar, also has a dog.
Yes.
That she allows to move around the bar freely and unleashed. And the dog has done that for how many years?
8.
Has the dog ever bitten anyone?
Yes.
When?
He has bitten a couple people, but it's from trying to pick him up.
I asked you when? In a year, in 2 years?
In the last 2 years, probably.
How many times has the dog bitten someone who's tried to pick him up?
A couple of times.
And when you say a couple is 2. More than 2?
Maybe. They've all been warned.
Maybe is not an answer.
I really don't know how many.
Well, I want you to think about the answer to that question. I would know how many times my dog bit someone if the dog was allowed to run free in my commercial establishment.
Okay, with her, I would say 3 times.
Other than the plaintiff in this case, have you ever been sued by the other 2 people?
No. They're all aware of the fact.
No, don't tell me what they're aware of, Miss Mayor. Don't tell me what they're aware of. I asked you a simple question. Have you ever been sued? The answer is no.
No.
What kind of a dog is it?
Shih Tzu. I have a picture if you want to see it.
I love Shih Tzu. Have had them for 20 years.
Yeah.
Great little dogs. I had one that didn't like to be picked up either.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them are pretty reasonable. Now, how much does he weigh?
Probably 14 pounds, I think.
A big Shih Tzu.
He's big.
All right. Now, Miss Reese, this happened in March of 2012. At what time of the day?
It was in the afternoon. I'm not sure the exact time.
Well, try to think. Was it 1 o'clock? Was it 5 o'clock?
I'm thinking probably 2.
And what time had you arrived at the bar?
Right around 2 o'clock.
Did you order something?
We were about to order. I hadn't ordered yet before the incident, no.
Who were you there with?
I was with a friend.
Who?
Man that I was dating at the time.
Had you ever been to the bar before?
I had been there one time years prior on a Saturday night with my sister, yes.
So now I'd like you to tell me what happened.
Well, on March 12th, Linda's bar.
We're there already. We're
Okay.
at 2 o'clock. You were just about to order. You
Okay.
don't have to go over it again.
Okay.
I have an intact memory.
Okay.
Most of the time.
So I noticed the dog right away, and he came over to me, and I asked her if he was friendly, and, could I pet him? And she said, yeah, definitely. So I was petting the dog, and he was really friendly. She's like, oh, he's here all the time, and just no big deal. He's a friendly dog.
So she told you, just a second, she told you that you could pet the dog.
Yes.
Fine. And you
play
were
with
petting
it, whatever.
No, you
Okay.
said pet.
Okay.
So you were petting the dog.
I was petting the dog.
And had no trouble.
No trouble. He was licking my hand. He was jumping up like he wanted me to hold him.
No, don't tell me what's in the dog's mind.
Okay.
You were petting the dog and
I was
had
petting
no
the dog.
problem petting the dog.
No issues. The dog was very friendly.
And then what happened?
And then I reached under his belly to pick him up, and he clamped onto my hand, and he just started shaking violently, and I was screaming. It was painful, and I waited for him to let go because I didn't want him to do any further damage to my hand. And when he finally did, I showed everybody what had happened, and Linda said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and da-da-da, and she offered to bandage my hand for me, and she did.
Right. And
I got nauseous and dizzy at the sight of the blood. We stayed for maybe 15 minutes after that, and then we left. And then I went home and didn't really think a whole lot of it, but the next day I woke up and my finger was swollen to twice its size, and it was infected, bright red. I couldn't move it.
See the photograph, please. Okay. So what did you do?
So I called the ER, and they told me to come in right away because of the location of the main puncture wound. It was by a joint, and they were afraid that that could.
Don't tell me what they were afraid of. Don't tell me what they said to you. Tell me unless you were. Are you from the ER?
No, ma'am.
No. Just tell me. Just tell me. You went to the emergency room.
I went to the emergency
room the next day.
Yes.
And what action was performed on you? Did you have any stitches?
I did not have any
stitches. Did you have any surgery?
No.
Did somebody clean it?
Yes.
And then they put a bandage on it?
Yes.
Do you have that medical record?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay. And what happened after they cleaned the wound and dressed it? Then did you go to the hairdresser?
No. I did not.
Well, you asked if you could go to the hairdresser before you went to the ER.
I did ask that.
And they said they suggested you come over before you went to the beauty parlor.
Right.
So after they fixed your hand, you decided not to go to the beauty parlor that
My
day.
appointment time was already over at that point.
All right. What else?
After that, I've been afraid of dogs. I've been a dog owner my whole life.
All right. Well, if you're a dog owner your whole life, you know, I wouldn't go over and pick up somebody's dog. I might pet it if it came over and go like this. But I wouldn't necessarily go and pick up a dog. So I don't want to hear about all your trauma about being afraid of dogs. You shouldn't be afraid of dogs. You should just be afraid of picking up dogs.
He's a lap dog, Your Honor.
He's not your lap dog. It's not
She
your
said
lap
he was
dog.
friendly.
I just want,
she should not have had him in the establishment if he had bit people 3 times before.
I didn't tell you he was friendly.
Yes.
Just, I don't disagree with you. This is not a $5,000 problem. Did you go to a lawyer?
Yes, I did.
So I assume ultimately the lawyer told you, I'm not taking this case.
No, the lawyer would have taken it.
Well, then why didn't you stay with the lawyer?
Because I was dealing with a divorce and custody issues at the time, and it was too much.
You have a lot of excuses. You went to a lawyer. Did the lawyer that you went to suggest you go for therapy?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Did you go for therapy?
Yes, I did.
And after the lawyer suggested that you go for therapy, and you went for therapy, at what point, no case?
She never told me I had no case.
Well, then I want to know what you're doing here. If you went to a lawyer and you retained a lawyer who said that you had a case, and this is what you have to do. You have to go for therapy on your hand. Do you have your therapy bills?
Yes, I do.
Do you have to go for therapy because that's what the lawyer tell you, and you go for 12 sessions. It enhances your case. At some point, the lawyer either discontinued your case or you discontinued the lawyer. I absolutely believe that the defendant is responsible for your medical bills. Absolutely. Because she already had prior notice that her dog bites. And if your dog bites, when you pick him up, it's not the kind of pet that you want to keep in a commercial establishment.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he's mine and it's my bar.
No.
I'm home.
No. That's not true, madam. That is not true. In your home, it's yours. Once you open your bar to the public, you bear a different responsibility. Your responsibility is, if you have a pet, you know, there are some people that say, listen, I love my cat, and my cat sort of prowls around and takes care of the mice problem, and takes care, so I'm going to let the cat stay around here.
She was
No,
warned.
I was not. Am I speaking? What part of my speaking didn't you understand? You don't like my answer. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. It means you have prior notice that your dog bites under certain circumstances. And as a responsible owner, this is not your home. This is your commercial establishment where you invite the public
and serve food.
I'm going to dismiss your case.
Sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And pain and suffering
after Linda's Shih Tzu bit her while she was patronizing her establishment.
Now, I told you before, it's not a $5,000 case. Okay. Get it out of your mind. That's what your lawyer told you. But I think that she's wrong.
And I don't serve food.
I don't care whether you serve food or not. It is a commercial establishment, and you're on notice that your dog has bitten before. When somebody might do what she did, which is bend down and try to pick up a small dog. Now, 14 pounds is not a small Shih Tzu, but bend down and try to pick it up. She shouldn't have done it. Pet it, put your hand out, let it lick you, but she shouldn't have gone down to pick up the dog. Now, do you have insurance in your bar?
Yes, I do.
Does the insurance carrier know that you have a dog at the bar?
Yes, he does.
Really?
I'm sorry, not the insurance company. No, they do not know.
Well, they're going to cancel your insurance.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see this and they're going to say somebody's going to get hurt in that bar. Is the dog still around?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a problem in that bar because somebody is going to say, you know what? I didn't just get a puncture wound that I chose between my hairdresser and going to the ER which one to do. I'm really hurt because the dog bit me in the face and I needed stitches, or the dog bit me in the shoulder. So you best think twice. It's not your home. The dog belongs in your home. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There should be a violation involved. Yes, she serves pizza and garlic bread and other things there.
I've had inspectors come in when he's there and they haven't said a word.
There's food involved and the dog should not be there.
The story on her side was a little bogus, but
there is no bogus whatsoever. The dog, she said, was friendly.
I probably won't have him there near as much.
I played with the dog, went to pick it up. She should have warned me.
Judge Judy made her point, and I realize that's probably what I have to do.
If you see a dog in a public place, don't touch it.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Camacho, it is your claim that the defendants rented you an unlivable house, and you want your deposit back and the portion of the rent that you did, in fact, pay them.
Yes.
The defendants say that they told you that the house wasn't ready to be moved into, that they have a document that you signed indicating that you understood that the house was still having major repair work done, that it wasn't going to be ready till April of 2013. You signed that document, but you insisted on moving in. You had already lost the previous place where you were living. And they have counterclaim. They say that while you were there, you actually caused some severe damage to the house. Now, when did you first see the ad for this house?
March 11th.
Where did you see it?
In Lamont, California.
Where? On an internet, on a board, on a newspaper?
I was driving, looking for rentals.
And there was a sign out front?
Yes.
You stopped?
Yes.
Look around the house? Stop playing with your papers, it's annoying me. Stopped and looked around the house?
Yes.
And?
And it looked like if it was being remodeled. So I called and he said that he could meet me there so I could see the inside. So we met and he said he hadn't started doing any more work to the house because nobody had showed interest in it. So then the next day I went back out there and I talked to him. He said that if I was interested, he would start working on it as long as I gave him the deposit.
Fine, so you gave him a deposit?
Yes.
How much?
$900.
Where did you get the money from?
From my job, from working.
So you gave him $900 deposit?
Yes.
And any other money?
Not at that time.
Go ahead.
That same day that I gave him the deposit, before I handed him the deposit, I asked him when would the house be ready. He said it would be a couple of weeks. I said, could it be done by April 6th, April 7th to be moved in? He agreed to yes. So I said, okay. So that's when I handed over the deed and we went on our way. Well, the following weeks I would pass by and I wouldn't see him working on the house. So I would start calling him and he said, oh, that things came up and that's going to take him a little bit longer. And I told him, but we agreed to the April 6th, April 7th.
I want to see the document that you say you have that she signed.
Your Honor, here's the contract and this.
I want to see the document that you say that she signed. Okay, I want you to look at this and tell me if you signed it.
Yes.
Okay, so you moved in with the understanding that certain things would not be done when you moved in, but would be done within a 6-week time frame, with the exception of the water line, which was supposed to be done by the 8th of April.
Yeah. But I asked him why 6 weeks. He said that it would not take him 6 weeks.
Just a second. You can't tell me what he said. You signed a document.
Yes, I did.
You can't go beyond what's in that document. This is what you signed.
Yes, but they also signed a contract that it would be ready for inspection by the government by...
What is you have to do with the government?
Because I'm on Section 8. They were supposed to have the house ready for inspection by May 30th for me to move in by April 6th. Would you like to see the contract?
Yes, I would. As a matter of fact.
Yes.
You say that you saved up this $900 that you gave them from your work. And now you're telling me about Section 8 housing. You want to explain that to me?
They pay a portion of my rent, and I pay the remaining.
Well, how much were you supposed to pay for this house?
$629 or $615.
This says requested beginning date of the lease, April 6th. Date the unit would be available for inspection is March 30th, 2013, and it was signed by the two of you.
Yes.
You filled this out?
Yes.
And you signed it?
Yes.
And it wasn't ready for inspection?
Correct.
Why wasn't it ready for inspection? You signed this?
Correct.
Ensuring that it would be ready for inspection by a date certain?
And I let her know that it was not going to be met. And she said to me that she couldn't wait for Section 8 to come, that she would take care of it herself because she had a job and she also had an automotive business and her husband made cash under the table, that they didn't need the Section 8, that they just wanted to get in there as fast as possible.
That's not true.
Just a second.
My husband doesn't work under the table. He works for a company. He gets paid in checks.
What company does he work for?
He works for Sunview Farms.
And you?
I work for Cap K Wick. I'm a clerk there.
When did she have this conversation with you?
March 9th.
I didn't know him on March 9th. I didn't see the house until March 11th. And I went back and gave him...
May I speak, Your Honor?
No, you may not. Because he got confused. Because the property didn't have to be ready for inspection until March 30th.
Correct.
So on March 9th, the government wouldn't have known that it wouldn't be ready for inspection by March 30th because you still had 3 weeks in order to complete some of the work there. Just pay careful attention to me, sir. Who was working to complete the interior of the house?
Me and my son.
You have a full-time job?
Yes, I have rental properties in the
What?
We have multiple rental properties that I take care of.
The place wasn't ready when it was promised. She gets her money back for the rent.
No, that's not correct.
She
That is not
damaged my
correct.
property. I'm not refunding her nothing.
Oh, yeah, you are. Now, the only thing that I have to ask you is you have a counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that there was substantial damage to the property. And she wants her rent and deposit back in the amount of $1,300 because at some point you gave him an additional $400.
Yes, when I signed the rental
This
agreement.
piece of paper. How long did you stay there, by the way? How many days?
I never stayed there. I moved my stuff in for about 7 days. I did not stay there because it was unlivable to stay there.
Where did you go to?
I had to go to my mother's house.
What about your husband?
He went with me and our dog.
And where are you living now?
We finally found another house and we're renting it now.
How much are you paying in rent?
I pay $850 there.
So you're paying more there than you were going to pay?
Actually, I'm paying less. Since they said that I had to do it on my own, they were charging me $900 of rent.
Just a minute. What do you mean they said you had to do it on your own?
Because Section 8 hadn't stepped in, so they said I was responsible for $900 of rent, $900 of deposit. I gave them $400, and they gave me a 3-day notice to pay the remainder of $500.
Got it. Okay. Show me the pictures of the damage.
Your Honor, there's stuff about this case I feel it's really important for you to know about the dates. We first met her on March...
Miss Hall, I want you to listen to me very carefully. This lady needed a home. Listen to me. Put on your listening ears. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
I'm listening intently.
Great. This lady was looking for a home. She wasn't looking to scam anybody. She was looking for a place for herself, her husband, and her dog. That's what she was looking for. She saw the house. The house was in a state of disrepair. It was being remodeled. And she said, great, when will it be ready? And I believe she had this conversation with your husband because it makes sense and she's not a stupid woman. She and her husband, who works in the field, worked very hard to gather up $900 in cash to put down on something that is a more habitable living place. So she would have asked that question. When is it going to be ready? When is there going to be water? When is there going to be a countertop? When is there going to be a closet door? She would have asked that question. He told her 2 or 3 weeks. That's what he told her. And her little dates may be wrong, but I want you to understand she wasn't looking to scam you.
But, Your Honor...
No, listen to me carefully. She wasn't looking to...
She didn't even turn the application into Section 8. I called Section 8.
It doesn't matter. What difference
She said the house didn't need to be ready by the 6th because Section 8 was adding her husband and we had more time. She was going to stay at her other place. So we said, fine. We called her on the 21st and let her know the house was
Listen
to be ready.
me. What you don't seem to understand is you shouldn't rent a house in the condition that she moved.
We didn't want to. She insisted. We have multiple texts.
Where are the 2 ears that you were talking to me about?
I am, but Your Honor,
No, where are your 2 ears? Where were your 2 ears? It doesn't matter. You lose nothing. You had a house that was uninhabitable. She gave you $1,300 to live in a house that you couldn't rent to anybody else. You have no damages. You couldn't rent a house that had...
The house is renovated on the inside, it's brand new.
And we didn't say 2 to 3 weeks.
Either you're just not listening or you're both dumb as a bucket of rocks. You're not listening to what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is, if you're saying to me, I rented a house to her and it was perfectly habitable for anyone to live in, and therefore I lost money because I rented it to her, so you can't give her money back because it really is taking money away from us that we would have had from another tenant. You couldn't have rented it to anybody else. You are out zero. Do you understand? Listen. Now I'm going to get back to you say she destroyed your house. Show me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Noemi Camacho says former landlords Pamela Hall and Clinton Golden owe for the return of rent and her deposit. The defendants are countersuing for damages to their property.
Now, I want to see pictures of the damage she did to the house. How did the door get shattered?
She shattered it.
How did the door
When I went to go finish everything, make sure everything was all right to turn the house back into them, they had changed the locks.
We did not change the locks.
So I called the Lamont Sheriff's Department to come out, and they said that...
You have to pay for the back door. You have the bill for the back door? I'd like to see it. That
They
comes
said
off. Shh. Don't tell me what anybody said to you. No police officer said to you you can sledgehammer the back of a door.
I didn't sledgehammer it.
I don't care what you did. You broke it.
There's no other way I could have...
That's your problem. Yes, there is. You go to small claims court, just like you did. You know how to come to small claims court. That's what you do. Oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That means you're going to owe them. It cost $1,575 to fix that door, the damage that you did. They only owed you $1,300.
How was it $1,500 if it was
$275? You owe them for the back door. You have no right to go in and shatter their property.
The police officer said that I can make entry any which way I possibly
I don't believe.
could.
Hey, I don't believe that. And
There
if
is
you
no
did,
other
then
way
you
to get in.
Then you listened to the wrong police officer. You have to pay for the door, which means I was going to give you your $1,300 back. But based upon what I saw of the back door and this bill, which says it costs exactly what a new door would cost, you actually owe them money, $275. Judgment on the counterclaim. Got it?
Thank you, Your Honor.
$275. That's all. Thank you.
All right, are excused. You may step out.
It's a house that was being renovated, and they promised it would be ready by the time I needed to be moving in.
She was told multiple times that the house wouldn't be ready. She didn't turn the paper into Section 8.
Because they promised that it would be ready. That was the whole point.
So for her to come and say that, we forced her or whatever, there was, we made these promises.
How could I possibly take advantage of them?
She didn't even turn the paperwork in, and we called her multiple times. So
they took advantage of me.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Valentine versus Graham. Step forward.
Tina Valentine is suing her child's father, 24-year-old Christopher Graham, for furniture bills and the cost of 3 cell phones.
Miss Valentine, the defendant, was your boyfriend for a period of time, some time ago. When he was your boyfriend, according to you, it was your plan to move in with him because you were pregnant and you rented some furniture for his apartment. You were going to move into his apartment. You never did move into his apartment. He has the furniture. You had to pay for the furniture. You want him to pay you back for the furniture.
Yes.
Did you lease this furniture?
Yeah, we rented it from Aaron's.
Where is the furniture now?
The furniture has been, I left it.
Listen to me.
Okay.
That's a very easy question. Where is the furniture now?
Gone.
Where?
I left it in the storage because I had my own furniture.
In what storage?
I had a storage that I rented, and basically I had my own furniture, so I didn't need that furniture. I told her to come pick it up. It was the day that she was supposed to come pick it up. It was the day that I was closing the storage, and she never came. I left it there. It's gone.
Are you still living in the same apartment?
No. I've since been moved.
When did you move out of that apartment?
I moved out of that apartment shortly after our son was born, maybe, I would say August of 2011, excuse me. Sorry about that.
So this is 2 years old.
Exactly.
This is 2 years old. Where have you been?
When he kicked me out, I asked for the furniture back, and the police said that I must go to court. And he ended up getting kicked out of his apartment, and he told me he put in a storage. I requested to have the furniture or if he would help pay for it, and he said he needed some time, and his storage got closed because he couldn't pay the bill.
Oh, really?
Why didn't you tell Aaron's where the furniture was?
I didn't know what storage it was.
Well, you know where he is. You've been in touch with him. So why don't you just tell Aaron's, listen, the last time I saw the furniture, it was in his possession. You just sort of blew it off for 2 years.
Well, I got the collection letter in 2012.
Yep. Dang.
You're supposed to promptly address issues and not wait until you get collection letters or something goes to a judgment. You separated 2 years ago.
We officially separated in March 2012.
Well, then that's what I mean. Then when he moved out of that apartment in August of 2011, you knew where he was. Because if you officially broke up in March 2012, what does that mean?
We were officially together January to March, after I got out of the hospital. Before that, we were off and on, and he was back and forth. Wasn't a real relationship together.
Yep.
Okay. You pay child support, sir?
She won't let me really do that.
I asked you a question.
No, I don't. As far as garnishment, I tried to pay, but she won't let me.
That's not true, Your Honor. Why would I
What do you
not
mean
let
you tried to pay, but you won't
I
let you?
try to give...
Did you ever take him to court to have him declared the father of this child?
We're in the process of that now. We have court this next week, but he wants a paternity test, so the court put us on a continuation.
So he requested a paternity test?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Your Honor, basically, this relationship has
I don't
been
care about
going
your
on.
Relationship.
Okay.
Are you working, sir?
Yes, I am.
Who do you work for?
I work for a bank.
Did he sign for this furniture?
Yes, we both signed it.
He did?
Yes.
Listen to me very carefully. Give the collections company his name, his address, where he works, and they'll go after him.
I paid for the furniture, and I have a receipt
that's
of
your
that.
problem. That would be your problem. So you waited too long, then you paid, then you came here?
No.
Bye, Miss Valentine. Toodaloo.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This was just basically a way for her to get back at me because of a relationship that went sour.
He was borderline abusive.
I have never been abusive.
I supported our son all by myself.
If this is my son, I'm going to make sure I step up. I've been stepping up the whole time anyways. We're going to see what happens from here on out.
He could see his son, but, I mean, that's it.
Won't get one over on us.
No.
Case 2090, Oquendo versus Villarreal. All parties, please step forward.
Amber Oquendo is suing her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, for unpaid rent.
Miss Oquendo, you own a home.
Yes.
How large is the home?
It's 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and approximately 1,700 square feet.
When did you purchase the home?
2018.
Can I ask you what the cost was?
$225,000.
And you live there in the house, just you, with whom?
I don't live in that house. That's my rental.
You bought it as a rental? Somebody was playing their music loud. Mm-hmm. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
Amber Oquendo claims her former tenant, Nancy Villarreal, owes for unpaid rent. Nancy is countersuing for her security deposit.
Now, you bought it as a rental? You bought it as a business?
Originally, I purchased it and I lived in one room. My kids shared a room and I rented 2 rooms until I was able to establish basically a history of being a landlord. And I then purchased another home and I live in my own residence, and that one is fully a rental as of now.
And also a resident of that home are your parents?
Yes, they are in the master.
And you have another tenant there?
Yes, there are a few other tenants.
Tell me who.
So I have one tenant who has asked not to be identified by name, but he is in one room that I have marked as room number 2. And then I have another tenant who's in room number 3. And then Nancy was in room 4, and there's now a new tenant in that room.
Okay, this is what it's about. The defendant was a tenant of yours. It didn't work out. And it was a short tenancy. I think it lasted no more than a month.
Yeah, right.
Is that right? June of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
It didn't work out. She left. It is your claim that she left owing you a month's rent. And I assume from your paperwork that the month's rent was $774.
So it was $650, and then the $774, the remaining difference was just for being served and then court costs. But month rent was $650.
$650. And when the defendant moved in the beginning of June, did she sign a lease?
Yes, and I'm just going to correct you. Sorry, she moved in May 7th, so just wanted to correct that. But yes, she did sign a lease.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a copy of your lease, Ms. Villarreal?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. So it's a month-to-month tenancy. It's an at-will with 30 days written notice. Okay. According to the lease, there was a security deposit of $650.
Yes, ma'am.
Did the defendant pay that when she moved in?
Yes, she did.
Okay, because that's your counterclaim. You say you want your security deposit back.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume from reading both of your complaint and answer that this turned out to be not a happy tenancy. You don't live there on a full-time basis. The defendant did live there for a short period of time. You moved in, rented a room, and you gave her $650, and you moved in on May 7th.
Yes, Your Honor.
Correct. And you moved out on what date?
I moved out on July the 10th.
So you were there for 2 months?
No, I was there for 1 month.
May to June, June, July. May 7th.
I moved in I believe it was June because I moved out July the 7th.
Our lease was signed on May 7th, so I know that.
Yes, the term of the lease is beginning May 7th. That's the term of the lease, according to this. So I don't care when you moved in.
Okay.
The term of the lease was May 7th on a month-to-month basis. So you were there from May 7th to July 10th. So you were there for 2 months.
Okay.
We're going to get into the whys, wherefores in a moment, but did you pay the month of May?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay the month of
Yes,
May?
ma'am.
Good. Did you pay the month of June?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. And you lived there until July 7th?
No, I actually lived there until...
You just told me July 10th, as a matter of fact. Whitney's going to tell me what date you gave as your move-out date. You said it was July 10th.
She said, I moved out on July the 10th.
Okay, July, and it was, yes. July
So you
10th.
were there for 2 months?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if you were there for 2 months and you only paid 1 month's rent.
Yes.
So far, you owe her 1 month's rent. Did you return her security deposit?
Yes.
Did you receive your security deposit?
Yes, Your Honor.
How much?
$650.
Okay, so you have no counterclaim. The counterclaim is for your security deposit. The rest of it is nonsense. You moved out, you wanted to pay your moving costs, your hotel fees, and everything else. That's ridiculous. Okay, so if you've received your security deposit now, what you owe her is a month's rent, which is $650. And I know you're dying to tell me that there was noise there, that you couldn't live there, that it was terrible. Well, that's what happens when you live in a place with a whole bunch of other people. Did you look at this room before you moved in?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Okay, so you went to the house. When you went to see the house, Amber was there. She introduced herself as the landlord. That's what it says here.
Yes.
And she let you know that she wasn't in the house, that her parents were in the house as tenants, but she wasn't in the house.
Yes.
And you moved in and somebody was making noise. Somebody was playing their music loud. It was a problem for you.
Yes.
You asked them to be quiet.
Yes,
you
Your
told her it was a problem.
Yes.
And then there was some sort of a kerfuffle. I don't know what happened. You want to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor. I am a federal employee, Your Honor. And when I signed this lease back in May, it states there, and I'm also in recovery, Your Honor, and it states very clearly in the lease that there's absolutely no smoking on the premises or no drugs on the premises, Your Honor. There was absolutely marijuana being smoked in the house. And right after I brought that to her attention, I then received a 30-day termination notice.
Okay.
Because I absolutely could not live in that house anymore. With my job, I felt it was not a safe place for me.
Where did you go? Just a second. Is that your son?
This is my son.
Okay. Does he live in the area? I know you called him and he came and helped you move.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Who does he live with?
My son? He rents a room with roommates.
So he has roommates?
Yes.
Tell me where you went when you left. You didn't get a 3-day notice to quit. You got a 30-day notice from her that she was not renewing the lease pursuant to this.
Right.
You chose to leave in 3
Absolutely.
days. That was your choice.
Because
you had 30 days to stay, and you had a month-to-month tenancy. Okay? You chose to leave. So where did you go?
I got a U-Haul. I didn't really have a place at the time to go, but my boy's grandmother offered her place to me. So I stayed there for a couple weeks. She said, you pay $180. I'll let you stay here for a couple weeks until I was able to find another place, Your Honor.
And then you did?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Great. Okay. So your security deposit you have, and she doesn't have her month's rent, which is $650. Are we done here? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I am not aware of anyone using marijuana in my house.
There was marijuana being smoked in the house.
My dad says that he's not smelling it, so I guess I can't really attest to the legitimacy of that.
It was not a safe place for me to be.
You know, some people don't realize, Sarah, that if you leave a premises that you have lived in, it's like going to a restaurant and ordering a steak and then delivering the steak, you're taking a bite and say, you know, I really don't like that steak, and finishing it and then telling the waiter you're not going to pay for the steak. I always say you ate the steak. If you're a tenant and you find the living conditions such that, you know, you find it untenable to live there, you have a prerogative of changing your residence, but you don't live there for 2 months and only pay for 1 and then make excuses because you ate the steak.
Bobby Gonzalez is suing his neighbors, John and Heather Gilbert, for truck damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2095, Gonzalez versus Gilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, ma'am.
You're seeking substantial amount of money to refurbish your car after it was hit by the defendant's car while your car was parked.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants are seeking the same amount of money because they say that despite the fact that one of them did in fact hit your parked car, it was your fault. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. Mr. Gilbert, on what date did this incident happen?
February 3rd.
What time?
About 5:30 in the morning.
Who was in the car with you?
Nobody. I was by myself. I was going to pick up my son
You were going to pick up your son from where?
from his mother's house to take him to school.
And where does he go to school that he has to be there at 5:30 in the morning?
He doesn't have to be there at 5:30. I have to leave at 5:30 to get him there by 7.
Do you take him to school every day?
No.
What was different about February 3rd?
His mother, stepfather, and the rest of their family was out of town. They had asked me to take him to school that day.
Just for that one day?
Yep.
Yep is not an answer.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
is an
ma'am.
answer. Okay, so it's about 5:30 in the morning, and?
I left my house. It was
Look at me.
raining. It was cold. It's pretty much the same route I take every day, not at that same time. I was approaching a stop sign at an intersection by the plaintiff's house, and I seen, I guess, either a reflection or what I thought were lights headed in my direction. So I swerved. And
Okay, you're still traveling, so you're moving. Does somebody have a diagram of where this happened?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. You were approaching a stop sign.
yeah, I was approaching an intersection. So right.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
You were approaching an intersection.
Yeah.
It's a two-way road.
Yeah.
And it looks to me from that, is that an accurate representation?
Yeah, except for there was another vehicle on the other side of the road.
Okay, but it looks to me that you're traveling sort of in the middle of the road.
Yeah, it floods.
Okay, and a car is coming from something. You're not sure what.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what.
You were not sure what.
And I swerved. I
you
just got over to the proper side of the road.
And your car swerved, and when your car swerved, it hit that blue car that's sitting there. That's the plaintiff's car that was sitting in front of his house.
Mm-hmm.
Is not
Yes,
an
ma'am.
answer. Yes. Okay. Now, do you want to tell me what you did next?
I went through the intersection, turned around to follow what I thought might have been a vehicle headed my direction. And when I didn't see a vehicle, I took my vehicle home. I parked it. I got my insurance information, my driver's license, and I walked back to his house to trade insurance information with him.
Okay. You have a video of this incident?
Yes, ma'am.
From where?
From my surveillance cameras.
Is it set up for me to watch it
Yes, ma'am.
here?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm ready. That's your car, sir?
Yes.
Okay, let's see that again.
Notice how the truck is covered?
Okay, so you hit the plaintiff's car hard enough to push it up on the curb.
Speed limit is 30 miles an hour.
I've just asked you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks as if you hit it hard enough to push it up on the curb.
Yes, I did.
But you told me a moment ago, Mr. Gilbert, and you just piped in that the speed limit there is 30 miles an hour. You said you were slowing down for a stop sign.
I said I was approaching a stop sign.
Well, when you're approaching a stop sign, you don't approach a stop sign at 30 miles an hour, especially if it's in a neighborhood that you've been in. But according to you, you drive that neighborhood regularly.
Yep.
However, not at that time. That's what you said.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you are approaching a stop sign, when I approach a stop sign, and if I know there's a stop sign there, I start applying my brakes a little bit before. Now, I do drive with some people who sort of like to play chicky with a stop sign, you know. Maybe the stop sign is going to move. Maybe it's going to become a welcome mat. So they wait until they get right up to it and put their brakes on. But that's not what you told me you did.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now I'm going to say, if you were going very slowly, sir, approaching a stop sign, you wouldn't have hit his car with such force that you push him up on the curb. Okay. Your defense is to this action, as I said, that he was parked and he had this car that was covered and it was parked facing the wrong direction, which is totally irrelevant as to was facing the wrong
According to
direction.
Texas state
It
law.
was on. It's covered over, so you don't know which direction it was facing in. Certainly, the light wasn't on it. If you're
I've passed this.
I didn't ask you for anything. You weren't there.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't there.
Yes, ma'am, but she lives in the neighborhood. She drives by it every day.
Just a second. What do I need that for? I have a video.
Okay.
I have a video.
Can you see the stop sign in the video? No. You have no idea how close I was.
You just told me you were approaching a stop sign.
Yeah,
Would
there
you
is
read
a
that
stop
back to
sign.
me?
There
Would
is a
you?
stop sign.
Would you read that back to me? I was approaching a stop sign. Does he say I slowed down? I was approaching a stop sign. I don't remember.
It's about.
I didn't say. I did not.
Now
say,
you can leave.
I did not say I was slowing down.
Now you can leave.
I did not say I was slowing down. I said I was approaching a stop sign.
Okay, that's what I thought. But that's why we have Whitney.
Let's see, he says he was approaching a stop sign at an intersection by the plaintiff's house, and I can see either a reflection or what I see lights headed in my direction, so I swerve.
Now I would like to see that video again one more time. I would like to see if I see something coming towards you. Actually, I don't see another vehicle coming towards you. Is that a truck parked there?
It's a food truck behind it. It's like catty corner to his vehicle. There's a food trailer there that had all of the light, like right.
A food truck on the other side of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
A food truck that you could see, but that's parked.
Well, I assume since there was no actual lights coming, I assume maybe that's what light reflected off of.
You don't assume anything. All you know is you saw something that made you swerve.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether it was there or not there. So am I getting the fact that your total defense is based on the fact that his car shouldn't have been parked there?
Yes, ma'am. Or covered.
Yeah, well, but that's a finable offense, Mr. Gilbert. That's a finable offense.
If it doesn't cause an accident.
No, I don't think it caused the accident. You caused the accident.
How did
you
I cause
caused the accident. This is an inert object.
According to my HOA guidelines, that vehicle is supposed to be in his garage. According to Texas state law, it's not supposed to be on the road.
And I'm going to tell you, I absolutely agree with you that that's a finable offense if his car is parked.
So
you're trying to interrupt me.
Okay.
That it's a finable offense. The question is his car being parked illegally the proximate cause of this accident? That's the question.
Would that be a fair? It is.
I didn't ask you a question unless you went to law school.
Huh? No,
unless you went to law school. Am I in the realm? You're closer than that, was Palsgraf versus Long Island Railroad. His car may have been parked in the wrong spot. Yeah. If you had somebody that left a baby carriage with a baby on the street, which is certainly against the law and would be a neglectful act on the part of the parent, and if you happen to swerve up to avoid something and hit that baby carriage, you can't say that baby carriage is the cause of the accident.
No,
you're the cause of the accident.
No, the owner of the baby carriage is.
No, you are.
No, they are.
So
how am I responsible for their baby carriage?
Because your car is moving, sir, and if you're approaching a stop sign, you're not supposed to be going.
If the vehicle wasn't covered, you could see the reflectors that are on it. That's what they're there for.
Reflectors on what?
Reflectors on the truck that's covered. They have headlights, turn signals, everything that's reflective that you could see. There was no reflectors or signals for me to see to know it was there.
You would have hit it whether it was covered or not.
Of course.
Very good. May I please see the...
That's horse. I wouldn't have hit it could I seen it.
Kevin, I want to see what he's got as far as work for the car. Okay, so this is clearly a project car, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's people. It don't run.
Get him out of here.
Let's go.
He's done. He's done.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh, that makes my life so much easier.
And later today.
You wanted to go. There was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places and you can go. What? You look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse.
Bobby Gonzalez claims his neighbor, John Gilbert, hit his classic pickup truck. John is countersuing for car damage and harassment.
By the way, both the defendant and his wife have a counterclaim. Their counterclaim is for damages to their car and for harassment. Well, since neither one of them can keep control of themselves, the counterclaim is dismissed. I'm looking at this truck, Mr. Gonzalez. When did you purchase it, sir, and from whom?
In October of last year. I purchased it online.
Do you have the bill of sale from when you purchased it?
I don't have the bill of sale, but on the paperwork, I have the post on Facebook on how much I paid for it. It was for $8,000.
Okay.
I also have an appraisal on there.
as well?
I see the appraisal, but I don't have what it's going to take to fix the spot where he damaged the car. He damaged the car in this whole side end.
Yes.
I mean, he's not going to give you a classic car.
Well, I know.
That's not going to happen.
I know.
Okay, that's not going to happen. And certainly, you do understand that I'm not awarding you anything close, even though they're two obnoxious people, anything close to $10,000. You do understand that, Mr. Gonzalez. You're going to have to get this car fixed right now. I'm looking. Where is a invoice for either the work you had done or an estimate to fix that part of the car that he injured?
I cannot give that to you because
then I don't have it,
the vehicle is a classic. It's very hard to find that type of vehicle.
Well, then what you're asking me is to guess, sir.
Well, I can give you the rates as far as how much.
You can't give me anything.
Okay.
You have to take the car in to somebody who deals with classic cars. This is a 70-year-old truck, and it's certainly beat up. You had it covered for a long time. It shouldn't have been on the street. You do know that. And I assume that since it's not driven, you didn't have it insured.
Well, I took it out for Halloween, just for the kids.
Well, I mean, where do you suggest that I conjure up a figure of $10,000 when you have a car that's a year old that has never been driven, that you take out and it's a Halloween ornament? So let me explain this to you. I have to guess at a figure. I would be prepared to award you $2,000 to fix your car because I did see that it had to be damaged as a result of the damage to the defendant's car. If you